everyone, I am here with a true story from the Angel book from Guidepost that I have. This one. It's an old one. March, April. But there's still stories. I don't go by the dates on stuff like this. Just like on the Bible study dates, I just read them one at a, just go through them one a day. All right, here's a picture. It's got a couple sitting on the bench looking over the lake. And this one is called Because of Times Like This. And it is by Lou Dean from Dinosaur, Colorado. Have you ever heard of that? That's cool. Hey, have you ever heard of Dinosaur, Colorado? Ain't that cool? Despite our complicated relationship, I didn't want to shut my mother out of my life completely. It looks like a perfect spring day to go fishing, Mama said when I answered the phone. I listened close to gauge whether or not she sounded sober. Must have been alcoholic. So far, so good. Supposed to get in the 70s today. Perfect. I think 75 is like perfect. Actually, Scott and I were planning on trying our luck down by the river this evening. Mind if I come along? The question made my fingers tighten around the phone. Why had I even mentioned it? If I let my guard down for 1 second, things got complicated with her. Nothing about Mama or her drinking was simple. Trying to have a relationship with her was like dancing with dynamite. But how could I shut my aging mother out of my life and refuse to let her spend time with her grandson? And what was I supposed to say to her now that I'd admitted we were going fishing? Mama loved to fish. Are you still there? Mama asked. No beer, Mama, I said, embarrassed to have to say the words again. But after only 6 months back home, following my divorce and several bad experiences, I had set that one boundary. If she wanted to be around Scott, there would be no drinking. Of course not, Mama said, as if she were appalled by the very idea. I felt the conflicting emotions settle in. We'll go down to the river about 6, I said. The catfish bite better in the evening. See you then. Mama's voice escalated with excitement. Nothing more fun than being on the river in Oklahoma in the springtime, seeing the Canadian geese, watching the fish jump. Mama had that magical side to her. She'd always had the ability to grab life and live it to the fullest. When she was sober, I hung up the phone and made a quick decision not to tell my 5-year-old son that his grandmother was coming. It was too difficult to explain my grandma didn't show up when we were expecting her. Later that afternoon, Scott helped me dig for worms and gather up the fishing tackle. I fought the emotions that lingered, the stress, the guilt, the confusion. How many chances did Mama deserve? Was I right to trust her around my son? I took a break to sit still and pray. Lord, help me. Please show me the way when it comes to my mother. It was a prayer I'd repeated 1,000 times since my childhood. Mama's problems with alcohol had left a wake of destruction that could never really be healed, but I had kept trying. The minute my 2 brothers turned 17, they had fled the state. My older sister, who had still lived nearby, had recently shut Mama out of her life for good. Maybe my siblings were smarter than me. Maybe all the turmoil and frustration of dealing with my mother would only lead to more heartache in the end. But I couldn't dismiss Mama's joyful, loving side. Surely that was worth something. I got up and went to the porch. Scott played in the yard with our dog, Twain. I tried to untangle a fishing pole. Forgive 70 times 7, I whispered. That's what I was going to tell you guys. That's what Jesus said. Somebody asked Jesus, do I forgive my brother 7 times? And Jesus said, forgive 70 times 7 times. 70 times 7. I whispered after going through my divorce. I had become less judgmental, but even Jesus lost patience with the money changers. When was enough enough? Look, it's Grandma, Johnny, Scott's shrill voice cut through the evening. He grabbed our gear and started off. My son loved his grandma, in spite of her broken promises and occasional strange behavior. An hour later, as the sun set on the Arkansas River, Mama and I sat in silence watching a flock of Canadian geese wade in a shallow pattern and dip their heads into the water after small fish. Scott tossed a stick for Twain. Neither one ever tried to play fetch. He's a happy boy, Mama said. I didn't take solace in her compliment. Instead, I flashed back to my own childhood. Mama had left our farm, left our family, left us with our dad when I was close to Scott's age. I forced the bitter memory out of my head. Please show me the way. The lyrics to a song I just learned came to mind, and I heard myself try a couple of lines aloud. If I had the wings of an angel over these prison walls, I would fly. I wonder who sings that. Where in the world did you learn that song? Mama blurted out. Her tone of alarm caused the geese across the way to fly up in a chaos of honking and flapping wings. I turned toward my mother. I just heard it somewhere and I liked it. Mama stared at me with a perplexed look. That was my father's favorite song. I don't remember much about him, but your singing opened a window to the past. She looked out on the river, remembering, I guessed, remembering what was lost on me, considering how little I knew about her past. Only that she had lost her dad at an early age, and she'd been shuffled around to friends and relatives while her mother worked to support 5 kids. We had no connection to any of Mama's people, and I wasn't sure if she did. As the sun faded further into the western sky, fireflies began to blink along the fair bank of the Arkansas River. Guess we better call it a day, I said. Guess so, Mama said slowly, getting up from the riverbank. No luck on this day, but they'll be biting next time. Scott bounded down the path back toward the house with Twain, jumping and barking around his heels. I watched my mother walk slowly in front of me with her fishing pole and can of worms. She seemed somehow smaller. A flood of empathy rose up in me. There was no way to know what she had suffered in her childhood, and no reason to think she'd share it now. But maybe, in time. The song came back to my lips, and I began to hum as I walked. Perhaps there were other songs or connections that would help her open up. If I had the wings of an angel over these prison walls, I would fly. Mama stopped, turned and smiled. Thanks for letting me come, she said. I didn't have answers for Mama's addiction to alcohol, and I sure didn't know what to expect in the future. I didn't have the wings of an angel, but I had the security of knowing that God was guiding me through the darkness, showing me the way. An old song struck a chord with Lou's mother, and here's a picture of her mother with a guitar. All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed that story, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Good night.